Well, hello. Um, Thought I'd kick this one off as an introduction to our Blast from the Past section, where I'm looking at drawings that took place a few years ago and pulled out and dusted off. Um, Most of you will recognize this issue here of Wolverine, the original series, and it came out in the early 80s. I was 11, 12 years old. Uh, Now, yes, that is in fact from the original series, and I've got it in old school mylar. No slabs here, which is something I should mention too concerning these old school mylar, and something you should watch out for. But that is for another video. Yeah, I thought I'd show the issue, slapping the Disney down on the table, as Ed Piskor had once said. There's a reason for that, bringing up this issue. I found something in my archives that I don't even, you know, I had long since forgotten. I forgot I had even drawn this. Yeah, it's a pencil sketch from 1989. And what it is the first page, the opening sequence, the first page of Miller's Wolverine, where Wolvie's scaling the mountainside, so to speak. He's tracking down a bear that has gone insane from a poisoned arrow. And I had penciled it out. And the thing about it is, the penciling actually went to, represent what was rendered after the inks were applied to Miller's drawing and stuff, right? So it's got that look about it. Like some of these lines, I'm like, why? I'd never do that now. It wasn't really a pencil drawing, but it was inspired by what I was actually seeing. So I was trying to get as close to it as I possibly could. Now here you go. Here's some images from an old graphic novel. Actually, my brother bought this years ago, and it is it's a compilation of that original series. And there's the bear, and this sort of thing. But there's the original drawing, right? His inks and stuff after it's been inked and colored, and what it actually looked like. And there's my drawing of it. I was looking at this, and again, I got a kick out of it, and I thought, well, isn't that interesting? So what I did is I went on ahead and made some photocopies, right? Some colored photocopies of the penciled images, right? There's another one there, but the reason I did that is I was considering the idea of inking this, and I wanted to retain the pencil image so I could do a before and after. But I don't know. To ink or not to ink, right? That is the question. Again, it's, obsessing a little, probably. But I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and ink this one, folks. There are quite a few of these drawings from that time period that I've also gone ahead and made some colored photocopies of the penciled versions, because I will, in fact, go ahead and ink some of these images to give them more of a solid preservation, whatever. But I don't know. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. You know. Even though I've, restored them with the photocopies, I don't know, I get nervous about these things. I look at it and I think right away, right? I'm going, well, oh, and again, right, this paper is over 35 years old. Whatever, just saying. It's in its original state. It's faded a bit, but, this is paper. This isn't Bristol board. This isn't any quality kind of board for comic book making. So what I probably experience is a lot of bleeding with the inks, and I really want to avoid that. So I don't know how I'd go about this. I'd have to really consider that. So I don't know if I'm going to, but the important thing was that when I saw it, I got a kick out of it. And I thought, oh, isn't that something? Look at that. I think that's an important thing for artists to be doing, especially if you're talking about doing comic book work. You want to be, from time to time, while you're studying the craft, while you're studying anatomy, while you're studying foreshortening, while you're studying storytelling, while you're studying inking, whatever you're doing, you want to, from time to time, emulate those images and artists that you revere. And oftentimes, you'll learn things. And I've been thinking about something too. I've picked up a couple of books on the inking procedure. And I haven't had very much experience with it, but the experience I have had it has come out in some highly detailed work. It's not, how do I put it? It's not it's not production work, I'll put it that way. A lot of it looked good and I liked the way it turned out, but it took me a long time. It wasn't, I don't know how to put it. I haven't simplified the technique, the actual functioning of inking. But I'll get into that lately, or I'll get into that lately. I'll get into that later. I want to show you some examples of some of the book. The one book I have in particular. Well, one's Klaus Janson. That's one thing within itself. But there's another that actually gives you examples of 4 pages, actual sized pages of blue ink drawings for you to ink over, right? And I got to tell you, folks, it was in recent years that I'm going to save that for another video concerning the inks. But right now, I'm not too sure if I'm going to do that with this. What would you do? What do you think I should do? Interesting. But anyway, it'll be there in the archives, but I just thought I'd dig it out. Yeah, I remember this series, and this issue I'm showing you here. I've got the other 3 as well, but I remember the time when it first appeared to me. It was on a stack of a buddy of mine who lived across town. I had moved out of the neighborhood and I had come back to the neighborhood just to look him up and stuff. Like I said, 12 years old or so, and I saw it, or going on 12, I guess. I had moved to, at this time, I was living in Burnaby, BC, and I had moved out of East Van. But I had retained my copies of those Wolverine issues from him. I made some sort of trade, and I can't remember what the trade was for. I really can't. I can't imagine what I had to give him to trade. For the life of me, I cannot remember. I don't know if they were action figures or... I can't remember. I'd have to really think that over. But anyway, I had gotten the copies then and there, in the early 80s. And that I had carried them with me by 83 across country to a new location. Anyway, I had them for the longest time. And it was top of the 80s. Oh, no, sorry. I don't know. I guess about 89 or whatever. Something happened and I did something silly. I approached my brothers with my comic book collection, and I gave half to one and half to the other, and I said, I'm giving you these comics. It's so crazy, this story, but I'm giving you these comics with the understanding that you will never sell them, okay? Because I knew I was doing one hell of a, it was quite a collection by that time. And there were issues there that I had since I had been, quite young. And, anyway, my youngest brother decided to sell some of my keys at the time. I think there was like Punisher Limited Series, the, Mike Zeck stuff, the Circle of Blood stuff, including these Wolverine issues, including the New Mutants #1. He just went to town on this. Why? So he could get a Nintendo. Well, when I found out, I freaked out. And I, of course, came back and took the comics back. I was so disappointed. It's silly. I shouldn't have given them to them in the first place. And, we were just kids and all that. But I still, even though we were kids, I look back in resentment of that. Oh, that son of a gun. The same, oh God, this, there was a similar story with the same kid a few years back. I don't know if, a lot of you will remember that. The Kenner Star Wars action figures stuff was pretty popular back then. And my brothers were quite young when I had started to collect those things. And I keep the weapons, and I remember these things, like as just a little kid. I keep the weapons separate. And I kept the action figures in an action figure collector case at the time. And I told them they could play with them whenever they wanted. They could play with them with things whenever, without the guns, though, if they were going to take them outside and stuff like that. So one day I come back from East Vancouver from visiting friends and stuff, and I find my action figures are all over the goddamn lawn. And I find that the guns that I kept in a receptacle were all scattered and missing, and I couldn't believe it. I could have killed that fucking kid. Same brother. But, it just, that was him, though. That's him. Me first. Thank you very much. So, anyway, I mentioned that in passing. But, so, those issues were gone at the time, right? These ones, this series, they were gone. And it wouldn't be until years later. So they they disappeared in '89, and it wasn't until around 2001 I started getting interested in comics again, and strumming up some new enthusiasm. And I pulled some off the wall, which were fairly cheap then, and it's a good thing I did get them at the time. Oh my God, because of the price that they went up drastically from that. They weren't the most expensive comics that I had, and those are other horror stories that I won't bore you with at the time. But yeah, I remember that, and yeah, Wolverine was this was long before the popularity of even the 2001 or 2000, what was it, 99? When was it? The X-Men, the first movie. Even long before that even came out. Even long before the animated series was out. What was that, 94-ish? Something? I don't know. I can't remember. Long before that was on there. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. I was interested when no. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. I draw Wolverine over and over and over again. Snicked and slash, right? But yeah, I saw this in the archives not too long ago, like a few months ago, and I thought, wow, holy shit, I didn't even know this existed. Just wanted to share that. Sometimes it's fun to pull them out of the dustbins and take a peek. So, to ink or not to ink? That is the question.